And we're live.
And hello everyone, and we really do apologise for the technical difficulties. Apparently it's harder to try and connect with Western Australia than it is overseas. But welcome to Spirit Talk Australia tonight or today, depending on where you are coming from. We'd love to know who is listening at the moment. So if you would like to pop a message and just tell us where you're from, that would be awesome. And again, we are very, very sorry that we lost you and that you've been waiting for this particular episode. We did have a few difficulties, but we've tried to sort them out as best as we can. So today we have a special guest, Peter Cropley, who we are going to be talking to with regard to the book that he wrote some time ago, Money Magic. But it is all about really being able to control that connection that you have to your own wealth and your ability to create wealth as someone who may be a spiritual person and someone who may look at having money or gaining money through business as not being the right sort of spiritual thing to do. Look, you can be a poor pagan or a rich pagan. I kind of reckon a rich pagan's better than a poor pagan, because at least you can do more and share your wealth. And we all know that when we have money, we share it because that is sort of where we actually come from. So just to introduce Peter. Peter worked for many years at the TAFE College teaching electrical trades and computer logic for people involved in the resource industries. Peter also teaches at the Temple, which is a Perth-based Wiccan coven, and that is where, through worship and magical environment and teaching, he tries to change people's lives. So thank you, Peter. Thank you for joining us. And again, we apologise to you for the delay and for the issues that we had this time around. But that is life in the tech world, unfortunately. We need some more magic wands to be able to control that.
I have never had so much of an issue getting online before in my life.
So tell us a bit about yourself, Peter, and about how you were drawn into Wicca and your own teachings, how that evolved for you. What point in time did you feel that you were drawn into it? Or has it been something that you've sort of really done forever and a day?
Okay. I have a very
No.
No, it's
No.
frozen.
No.
No.
Oh.
Oh, Peter, I don't know if you can still hear us, but you have frozen our end. I don't think. Oh no, I think that might be internet his end. Oh, there we are. He's back.
Anyway, so I was a Roman Catholic first as a kid and an altar boy, and then I came out to Australia as a 10-pound pom in 1963, and suddenly became a Baptist. Met my girlfriend, fiance, wife of only 46 years, and we went into a spiritual into Pentecostal church, and I speak in tongues and I lay hands for healing, and I was actually a lay pastor. But over the years, that church started to make people guilty, and the guilt trip was the major thing. And it took years for us to break away, and we broke away. And for a whole year, we were what we called nothings. We didn't do anything anywhere. And I met this lady, and she lent me a book, Moon Magic by Dion Fortune. I read the book. It blew my mind. And I went back and said, "Can I have another one?" And she gave me Sea Priestess. And I read that and I said, "There's something here I need to know." And she said, "Yes, I'm a high priestess. You're coming under my wing, and I'm going to train you, initiate you." And so in I came into Wicca. A beautiful lady we called Lady Fern. If the full moon was 3 o'clock in the morning, then 3 o'clock in the morning we're outside the how cold it was. This is the 70s. And we were dancing, sky-clad, and waiting for the hot fire and the hot soup when we got back inside. We did rituals up in the hills, and it was a whole new lifestyle. We met obviously other people from other commons, and then gradually, it takes about 10 years to come up to a high priest level with lots of different training and different things to do. And so when we did become a high priest, and my wife came in as well, she's a high priestess. The temple has run for probably 25, 30 years. We have initiated 5 high priests and high priestesses and set them out into the world. And we teach every Wednesday. This particular book, I ran a group of 10 people for 1 year to test out all the areas of the book itself. And at the end of the book, it tells you the results we had. People started side businesses, people started changing their minds about the way they think. And I've actually travelled to many of the Australian Wiccan conferences around Australia, which is where lots of leaders meet and greet and drink a lot and have a good party, share the equinox. And I've run 2 of the AWC conventions over in Perth as well over the years. And when you talk with all of these people and that, it's almost like it was a virtue in being poor, because if you were poor, you were spiritually much better than some horrible rich person. Well, unfortunately for us, we understood when I was about 30 that there was something really wrong with the financial system as we understood it, or basically did not understand it. We hired a financial consultant to come in and teach us. Cost me a week's wages, but it's best wages I ever spent. And he taught us about money, control, what to do. And then along the years, we've met other people and we spent our own money in learning mindset engineering. And if you like, as Wiccans, as spiritual people, contacting and making your subconscious link and work effectively. So the book was written because I wanted other people in our community to at least have a chance to learn about finance, to learn about a different way, and literally set themselves up for their elder age. So they didn't have to just have only the lotto ticket as their main investment system, or relying just on a government Centrelink pension, which I find the people who are on it, it's a degrading system in some areas, but it's a safety blanket in others. We wanted people to be much better at controlling their financial side, their business side, as well as their lifestyle and their spiritual side, because it all comes together. If you've got no money worries, if you've got your spiritual side working, your home life, and you're enjoying life, then that's the sort of spiritual Wiccan or pagan person you should be. So it was a concern to me, and it's still a concern to me, that in all of the schools, financial education is not trained. It's not even mentioned. So what happens? I used to teach apprentices. When I taught apprentices, you could see all the lecturers' cars were outside the classrooms. They were the old ones. Then you saw all the hotted up four-wheel drives, the fancy utes and all the rest. They were the first-year apprentices that just borrowed $60,000 at whatever interest rate and had locked them into the bank system. Because once you start that, you literally become a slave to the banks and the finance system, and you really, most people never get out of it. So that was my major concern. The exercises in the book, because I've got many hundreds of finance books and sales books and stuff like that, but none of them have ever come up with the idea of using meditation, mindset, and our spiritual beliefs to actually help us engage our subconscious, and following along the lines that magic is an effort of will to effect change. And it has to be our will. And by applying it and techniques and knowledge and the willingness to step out, the change happens. So in my own case, we decided to put all of our money into property, basically. So we have 9 properties. I don't actually have to work, but I like working. So I still continue to work, but I'm about to cut my days down a bit. I want to go to 4 days a week because I'm now 68. And being completely facetious, I told my wife that my idea about being 69 was not working. And my wife just laughed at me. But we're on a journey. We enjoy the journey. And we want other people to come on the journey as well. And the more people we can educate, the more chances we've got for pagans in any group, anywhere in the world, to actually say, you know, we can change. We can start really small. We can do the 10% rule. We can just gradually move forwards and we can achieve. We can see the little steps becoming big steps. And as your mindset changes, it grows. And as it grows, you allow your subconscious to move forwards. Like in our home, I have a vision board. Vision boards are the most wonderful things that anyone ever invented. It's a gold board. It has a plane, a cruise ship, which is a little iffy at the moment, and the magical museum in England that I need to get to go and see. The thing with vision boards is you put on what it is you need to change and what it is you need to work with. And what happens is the first couple of weeks it's up there, you see the vision board when you walk through your kitchen. After a while, you don't see it at all, but your subconscious sees it every day. And that feeds into your subconscious. So if you've got a goal, and it might be to save $1,000 or $10,000 in a special fund, if you set that goal up on a vision board and you get it set into your subconscious works 24/7. It's just that when you're awake and breathing sort of thing and doing other mundane things, your subconscious gets pushed down. So allowing your subconscious to work is best. I can just see that. What is it?
That's my vision board.
Ah, excellent. That is a really special thing to do. Once you understand that, that's a great step. And the other thing is we've got to teach people to at least analyze their spends. We do a 30-day spend budget. It's not a budget at all. All we ask people to do is for 30 days, write down everything they spend, from a cup of coffee, a chewy bar, an ice cream, or a meal. And at the end of that month, we analyze what they had to spend, you know, like petrol and food and rent and whatever, and then what they also spent. And we can normally find that there's an awful lot of money that gets spent on very little things that you don't need. For instance, when I was working in education, I'd take my team and we'd have a cup of coffee in the morning at the coffee shop. Now, the rest of my team all day long would go back to the coffee shop and buy another coffee, a sandwich, whatever. I took my plunger in. I made my own coffees during the day and I had to eat more fish. So I took a can of tuna. I'd go to the Vietnamese bakery and spend 90 cents on a nice fresh roll, put the tuna in the roll. That was my lunch. My friends were spending $15, $20. Then what happened? We had parking across the road. If you parked across the road, it cost you $220 a month.
Oh, wow.
I parked about 2 kilometers away in a free parking zone, opened my boot, took out a fold-up bicycle and rode into my office. Then folded the bicycle and put it in my office. Saved $220 a month. So it's not hard to find that 10%. And you do it by analysing your spend and making decisions. So we called it, we have a certain amount of disposable income, analyse what that disposable income is. What we did is we cut us in half by buying an apartment and having to make payments, which were then tax deductible. And that's where we started on our 9 property thing. So our own home is paid for, of course. And the investment properties are left with a loan on them because that was negative gearing. The latte effect, so cool. The other effect is called the couch. A lot of people, when they could be thinking about running a little side business or doing something different, sit on the couch and watch TV. And that is the most mind-numbing thing I mean, there are times you want to mind numb, and that's fair. But if you look at the quality of some of the stuff that's on TV and people watching it, all it does is put you into the mundane. And that's the other side. We have what we call the mundane or the muggles. I love the muggles as a term. It makes me smile every time. And we have the magical. It's actually important for us to be magical. Recognize the mundane, recognize that we have to go to work, we have to spend time to earn money to keep our family, whatever. But recognize that that's the mundane thing. But we work as magical beings. And even when you're at work, like where I'm got a job at the moment, there's a person there with a few problems. I go to work as a high priest. I do my job, I do it really, really well, but I'm always the priest. So if someone needs help, advice, whatever, then I'm there able to work on my priest level and to be able to assist and help them, not just as a work colleague goes, oh yeah, that's your problem. Okay. You know, it's you've actually got a role and responsibility. So you live your magical life, even in the mundane, you can still live your magical life. So that was a lot of talking from me. What would you like to
And I was saying to people in the blurb that we had on the original one before it all died, that it's not that you have to be Wiccan, you don't have to do that, but it's a changing of the way that you think. And I also find, you mentioned guilt around religion, because I went through the same thing. I was brought up through the Catholic system. But there is also a lot of guilt around money.
People who haven't got any money particularly automatically assume that people who have got money have robbed someone, or they've pinched the money somehow, or they've squeezed someone in order to get the money.
Or they've
Whereas
killed
the
someone
reality,
in the family.
the reality is, I can only admire people who work and use their mind to actually obtain whatever it is that they've got. I'm never jealous. There's always going to be someone with more money than me. There's always going to be someone with less money than me. Money is irrelevant. What it is actually is a sense of well-being. If you have enough that your sense of well-being is good, I mean, your level of well-being might be way below the $30 million got and the trip to Cairns. It might just be you've got your home. Now, to me, anybody who owns their home by the time they retire is so much better off, because to retire paying rent would be soul destroying, and also poverty, living in poverty. And we should not have to live in poverty. We've got an amazing God and Goddess. They rule the whole cosmos. You know, they only have to give a little bit of the shiny cosmos to us, and we'll look after it really, really well. So it's not money as such. Money is a tool. Now, I'm an electrician by trade originally. And if I have a bag of tools, I can fix things. If I can't afford to have tools in the toolbox, I can give people advice, which is, you know, it costs nothing, so it's not worth much more than that. And but I can't fix anything. And I mean, we've got some really, some of our senior high priestesses over here. I mean, my senior high priestess is Lavana, and she's known throughout Australia. She's always been wealthy, but she's worked her guts out to get wealthy. People only ever see the persona. They don't see all the work that went into, all the heartache and all the risks that were taken in order to be wealthy at the end of that journey. So I admire people, but I don't admire thieves, and I don't admire people who scam and set people up. They're just they're worse than, you know, they're mundane to the level of they're just bleeding off people, and that's where we come back. The Wiccan ethic is very strong. It is do what you will, and it harm none, including yourself. That including yourself sometimes can be quite important. But if you take it from that point of view, you can do what you need to do to move you and your family forward or your friends, but you cannot harm anyone else in the process. So knowledge is power. Now, we actually do a high magic talismanic ritual in about October. It has to be before Samhain. And in that, we can either use the energy of the planets of the sun or mainly Jupiter. Now, we're actually invoking then the intelligence of the planets. We're working with the energy of the planets. But the whole ritual, it's a 2.5-hour ritual, the whole ritual starts with by the work of my hands and the power of my mind. It's not, can I just have something for nothing? But I did love that song, you know, oh Lord, would you buy me a Mercedes Benz? It always appealed to me. But the thing is, it has to be the work of my hands, the power of my mind. They are the things that you take, if you like, to the marketplace. It's not, well, you know, I bought a lotto ticket, when are you going to let me win? That just doesn't work. It's only a 1 in 86 million chance.
Oh, yeah, it's huge.
Christy is asking a question. One of our watchers here today, Christy, hi. She asks, how can I change? What are the fundamentals that are required for change?
So awesome, easy steps to start moving in the right direction.
Mm-hmm.
The very first thing is she's asked the question, how can I change? Which means that, do you want to change? Because by wanting to change is the very first step, because then you'll seek out knowledge to help you change. I'm going to suggest my book is a really good place to start. But there's also another person I really like, the Barefoot Investor, Scott Paquin.
Oh,
he is very good. And a hero of mine is Robert Kiyosaki. He wrote Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Yep.
The guy was a Marine helicopter pilot that went in the Vietnam War to rescue downed soldiers. I mean, that takes guts. And then he came back to America. Him and his wife couch surfed for 18 months to build their business. And then their business took off. Where we invest in a bit of silver, a bit of gold, and a bit of property, his wife buys apartment blocks, he buys silver mines and oil rigs. But he's worked for it. And he took the steps that were necessary. So for people who are just starting out.
Oh, frozen again. I was just checking.
Because once you've got at least an idea that the system is set up to make you a slave to the bank. If you think about the things that people buy, like friends of mine just recently, they inherited $10,000. Now that could have helped set them up, but what did they do? They bought a 62-inch TV and new lounge furniture with porcelain inserts. Money gone. I mean, what do you do? I mean, that was seed money that could have set them up. And but it's because lack of knowledge, and it's because, you know, you get sucked into, I see shiny things, I want to buy them. And it's the same with cars. We keep our car until we can't fix it anymore. And the car I bought new was a Gemini. I bought it in 1980, and about 1918, 1998, we finally had to get rid of it. It would not run anymore, but it's done 500,000 K.
Oh, wow. I had a Gemini. It was my second car.
And
I ended up 200,000 Ks.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
And another car we had, which is a magnificent little sports car, that did 495,000 K. It would have got to 500, but I've given it to my daughter. But you do that.
I think for many people that the whole idea of at least even trying to save is something that they just feel they can't do. But like you said, even if you think about 10% of what money you have coming in and being able to put 10% away, it's a start. And we all start with $1 in the bank. We all start with something. It doesn't have to be huge, but waiting for it to grow is something that you just have to be consistent with. There is an overarching thing, I think, with people who feel that they are spiritual, and this is something that is talked about a lot on the internet. And this whole idea of spiritual people shouldn't earn money. You know, they shouldn't earn it. If you're a reader or a healer or whatever, you should be doing it for free, yeah, and all of this sort of stuff. But I mean, doctors earn money, teachers earn money. Why should spiritual people who are giving their time and who have spent a lifetime in learning do it for free?
Yeah, we have a set way. I have a set way of looking at that, and that is, if you give value, you can take value. So in other words, I helped a friend of mine who had a shop, and I started reading tarot for her and doing some healing techniques. And my concept there was, because I was giving value, I was able to take value because of that. And that's a fair share of what's real and what's rational. However, if someone comes to our coven and asks for a reading, or somebody, we go and do cleanse houses and stuff like that. And the last one we did, the husband had shot the wife in the front yard, then shot himself. So there's a little bit of cleaning up to do there. And we do that, but we don't charge because it's coming from the coven. It's not coming from a business side. Whereas when I was working with my friend to help her shop, it was a business thing, and it's value given and then value taken.
And I've heard that said another way. I've heard it as, I serve, I deserve.
Yeah, and that's a good concept. You've got a little question. What do you want to do if you want to change with in the family unit doesn't want to? A lot of people, you have this sort of like, if you get your head above the heads of your friends, they will all want to pull you back down again. So the thing is, what you do is you set it up for yourself. If the family unit doesn't want to set up a little private account, put that little 10% in, or whatever money you can do, run a little side business. One of my people at the end, they made cakes, they made herbal soaps, they made little things, just side business, but they kept that money for their investment account. And the book goes through, your first aim is that first $1,000. Once you've got that $1,000, your mindset will change. That becomes your $1,000. It's not going to be wasted. It's not going to be spent on anything. It belongs to you, and it's your investment potential. And then you keep going the same way, and all of a sudden it'll be $10,000. Now I take it that money equals time. If I've got $1,000, that's sort of like a 2-week holiday. You know, it's not at the best hotel, but it's a 2-week holiday. If I have $10,000, I can have a holiday for a month if I wanted to. But the thing is, once you start getting a few little numbers, if you had $10,000 and bought $10,000 of one of the banks, I used to trade in National Australia and ANZ. They pay 10% dividend fully tax-free. So that $10,000 is then earning 10% tax-free. And so hopefully by then you've got it going up towards 20,000. You keep just little steps. And then you might have a deposit that might allow you to get into an apartment or a little duplex or something, but some piece of property that someone else will pay you rent and hopefully pay most of the bills. And you just keep your money going towards keeping that up. And then all of a sudden you've got an asset. And an asset is anything that pays you money. So you slowly build up a business, whether it's property, shares, whatever, it's a side business. And it started from that little 10% that after a while, you make a few cuts and savings, you won't even notice that 10%. You get it deducted automatically into an account from your pay. And it's just the best first step. Once you've moved along a little bit, then your education will grow. And in my case, we went to seminars. In fact, we did better than that. We volunteered at seminars. I can remember flying over to Sydney at Luna Park at our expense to help out on a week course with a guy called Stuart Ziddell, who's an entrepreneur, an educator, and his message is he wants to create 1,000 millionaires in Australia. And he's on his way. And we loved that message, so we were willing to help for free. That was something that we just thought was so important. And people can go to some of these seminars. Don't sign up for anything. Most of the seminars will have their speakers. Listen to the speakers and gain knowledge. Use YouTube. And a lot of the speakers are on YouTube, and buy books. If you can't buy them, get them out of the library. But things like Barefoot Investor is always good. And he writes up in the Sunday Times. Over here, we have Nick Bruning, a financial person who writes. And there's a lot of financial people who put information out there. And they're really good. But Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, I just recommend everyone to read that. And the other book that was recommended to me by a multi-millionaire and a great speaker was a guy called Jim Rohn. And a lovely, lovely person, was The Richest Man in Babylon. Everything you need to know about camels. But underneath the story was the camel trader. He started off with 10%. And there's rules in there. And if you read the rules, they are so sensible. So there's so much available to people that mindset has to change. They have to want to do something different. And if they look at themselves and say, where am I going to be in 10 years' time or 20 years' time? Because I can tell you now, if you do the same thing every year and it's always the same, you'll be in 20 years' time the same as you are today. And one of the things that disturbs me more than anything else, we go to work for a whole year. If at the end of that year, you owe more money than you owed at the beginning of that year, you are worse than a slave. Because a slave owned nothing, but at least at the end of the year, they got their food and they got their clothes, and they didn't owe any more money. So from a spiritual point of view, we need knowledge, we need mindset, and we need the energy to put into, just like a spell, we need the energy to put into a spell to make the change. And we do not want to be slaves, and I don't want any of our pagan, Wiccan people, whatever, to end up being literally slaves of the system. And that's what the system is set up to do. Make you scared so you never want to leave your job, and just make you always in fear that you never have enough and you'll never be enough. And we don't want that for our people. Our people deserve better, and they'll get it through knowledge, and they'll get it through work and belief. And
we're frozen again.
now we're back again.
Yeah, we're back.
Peter, when it
So
comes
do you have
to
some
the
more
spiritual-
questions?
Yeah,
Just before you jump to the question, Christy Lee, it's scrolling across the bottom there. This is Peter
We've gone very
Cropley.
quiet.
Oh, well, we can
back.
hear you. Yeah,
we're back.
Christy Lee. Yeah, it's scrolling across the bottom. This is the author Peter Cropley who wrote the book Money Magic. Sorry, Renata.
No, I was just going to ask from the spiritual point of view, what would be a great way of, I guess, kind of marking a point in time where you have made the decision that I'm going to do something about this, and I want to begin it from a spiritual perspective, and I want to get your thoughts about what would be a great way to continue to work at this also from the spiritual perspective. So would you recommend, for example, doing meditations? Would you work with some sort of spell crafting? What would be the frequency of this? What are your ideas with regard to that?
Okay. What we do with the temple, which is our teaching coven, which we work in with the cycle of the times of the year. So we work from Candlemas. Now, Candlemas is our seeding ritual. It's the beginning of the year. We actually do a complete ritual, which ends up with Bridget and Lou being bedded, if you like, and the seeds. So we always have a packet of seeds, beans or peas or something, and they're consecrated and they're blessed by Bridget and Lou. And From that, every covenant gets 6 little seeds, and they have to put them and grow them. So they're starting their year. The seeds represent their hopes and their aspirations for what they want to do that's different in that new year. And so they plant those seeds, they grow them. We get to Beltane, we have an outdoor circle for that with 2 big fires, and we drive them through the fires. Sometimes they jump the fires. And that is to energize and to recognize and symbolize the extra energy you're putting into making those hopes and aspirations go forward. And then we get to Lammas, which is our harvest festival. We have an altar which is just covered in pumpkins and vegetables and everything else you can think of, because we should see some first fruits. We should see something that's actually happened and has been harvested at that time. So that energy goes into that. And then we rock up towards Samhain, where we say, look, you've done all these things during the year, now have a little rest. Everyone's thinking about a holiday. Our Samhain, we're Western, so magical, so our Samhain is actually in October. And we say, look, you can have a little rest now. Read books, think about things, do things slowly, and get ready for the next year. But we have reinforcements too, because your reinforcements are, if something's not going well, on the dark moon, we'll fix it with Hecate and a dark moon. If you want to give thanks to the goddess, things are going really good, full moon. Give thanks to Keridwen. Give thanks to Kananos. And so that energy of your magical self is working the full year. And there are extra rituals that obviously can be done, financial rituals as well. The talismanic one is just great because everyone works on getting a talisman made, consecrated within the sphere of that particular planet, and Jupiter is fabulous. And my people carry that talisman in their wallets or their purses all year round. Yeah. And we've had cases where some of our people haven't had a job. 2 days later, they've got a choice of 3 or 4 jobs, or something's happened somewhere else and money's coming through. And as I said before, it's really important that we keep to the idea of, and it harm none, because there are other ways of inheriting money by your favorite auntie or your mum and dad suddenly dropping off the perch and all of a sudden you've inherited. Now, you might have really liked your mum and dad to hang around a bit longer, so you've got to actually build it in that you don't actually want to knock someone off in order to inherit money. You actually want to be careful about the fact that it's by the work of my hands and the power of my mind. That is such a key concept.
That's nice.
I love that.
Yeah.
Now, some of the people here are asking, when you're referring to Samhain, is that in the northern hemisphere or do you celebrate the southern hemisphere?
We do northern hemisphere, but when we train our people, we train them on both. But for us personally, we are Western magical tradition, which is northern, and so we keep to that. But if we visit another coven and they're southern, then we celebrate with them as the way they celebrate. And one of the ways I explain the difference between north and southern basically is that when you put a circle up, part of the circle is basically above earth. And so when you're doing your conjuration, you are saying the world of men and the realms of the mighty ones, you lift the circle above earth. And above earth, there is no north and south. It's the way you like to work.
Yeah.
And so for us, we work northern by choice, but we don't look down on people who work southern. If we're visiting them, we work southern with them as well. So I have to train my people both ways, so they don't embarrass themselves and we don't embarrass any of our friends.
Now, guys, we have time for questions. So if anybody has a question for Peter about any part of what you've heard tonight or anything that you might still like to ask, please pop it into the comments now, because we'd love to get Peter to answer some questions for you.
And one of my biggest things, because I've had to do a lot of work on changing my money mindset and learning to, like when an order comes in for my business, instead of going, oh, I've got to go pack another order, go, thank you for supporting my business. Thank you for that money that's just come in. And if I found 20 cents on the floor, instead of going, oh, that's not worthwhile, pick it up, I'll pick it up and go, thank you. Thank you for the 20 cents that's just been added to my life. And doing that money mindset change, it really made everything start to flow.
Yes. Well, one of my friends who's like I said, he's a really top entrepreneur. He said, if you can give me someone for 15 minutes a day for 3 weeks, and I'll teach them how to be grateful, I can change their entire life. And what I do is my car is down the end of the block basically, and I walk past my outdoor temple every morning. I go into my outdoor temple. I have a beautiful statue of the Diana there, and I worship her, say hi, thank you. I say thank you for the day, whether it's going to be a hard day or an easy day. I start my day by being grateful. And that's how I start my day. And when I come home, whatever time that is, I go back in there and I say thank you. And it's so important. But the thing with the 20 cents, we did mindset engineering with a guy called Paul Blackman. Now, this guy is a multi-millionaire, had his own plane, all sorts of things. He dresses in beautiful suits and fancy shoes. He said if he's walking along the sidewalk and he sees a 5-cent piece, he will lean down, pick it up, hold it in his palm and look at it and say thank you. He says what he's doing is he's saying thank you to the universe. And, if you've got any more, I'd be happy to take it. He said, but if you walk past that 5-cent piece, what you have said to the universe is, I have enough money and I don't need any more. Now, how stupid is that?
Yep. It's spot on.
Yeah.
And this is something I needed to learn also when people offer to buy you a cup of coffee or they offer to pay for their share and things. And you go, oh, no, it's okay. And then I realised I was blocking that flow of abundance. And instead I started to say, thank you, that would be lovely. And appreciate the gift that was offered.
Yeah, my wife, Ceci, she had to teach me that because I'm so used to we'd buy the coffee or we'd buy the meal or we'd be giving because we love giving. I'm a big believer in paying it forward. Because paying it forward is a concept that you pay something forward with no expectation of any feedback, and then someone else pays it forward, and it's a wonderful way of looking at life. I had to learn to accept when someone else wanted to pay it forward to me. When someone wanted to buy my dinner or give me a coffee, it really took a little bit of thinking to say, I need to be humble and accept that and say thank you. But you're right. And it's much more on the sharing and the caring, and it works really, really well. And I can see Christy's comment there, over 30 years.
Oh, frozen again. And I can't get that to come back up either. It will come back in a second, everyone. Just hang in there.
We're back again.
We're back again.
Yeah, so I've been involved over 30 years just in the Wiccan area. How can you change your negative mind? Easy. All you've got to do, and I suggest you get a couple of really good books. As I said before, Richest Man in Babylon, Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, a magical book. I can't recommend Moon Magic Sea Priestess enough because the story in there just brings you into the romance so well. And you change your negative mind also by associating with people who are much more positive. Find the positive people. Look at your friends. Look at people you can hook up with who are not negative, who will help you be much more positive.
That's a really important point, Peter, because I find that often that is so important that you actually surround yourself with the people that you want to be or that can actually help affirm where you want to go. And as some of the other people here have said, their family can bring them down, their friends can bring them down. If you want to show that you're really striving for something, they might look at that and go, well, why do you think you're better than all of us Who are you trying to prove to be? None of us ever went to school. Why should you go to school? See how we've survived. You can survive. And it's so easy to be involved with people who really want to take you down and want to keep you down. And so it is so important that you associate yourself with people that you see as being the type of people or the type of person that you would like to be, that you are striving to be, because they're the ones that are going to lift you up, and they're the ones that are going to say, look, this is what I've done in my life. How about you try it? And it's energy, it's pure energy. So their energy will filter into you and lift you up as well.
You have to accept the fact that in our society, we have 95% of people who don't do anything and only 5% who try. And of the 5%, there'll be about 3% that will succeed well, and there'll be 1% that sort of just go over the top and fly. And the thing is, you really need to want to change. And by wanting to change, you will seek out the opportunities. You'll seek out good people. From Ceci and myself, we sought out some of the entrepreneurs, some of the people that were giving talks, and we started to associate with them and their sort of people. We volunteered at their conferences, and I volunteered at one with Robert Kiyosaki came to Australia, and he's my hero. I volunteered at the event for him. I got to sit down with him after the event, have a cup of tea with my hero. And what was good about him is when you asked a question, he answered it at your level and a little bit above. He didn't answer it at the level that he could have done, like I'm the most important person, I'm this, I'm that. He didn't do that. He was really into coming into you and trying to raise you up. And those sorts of people are fantastic.
Yeah.
But the other thing is, we walk every day with the God and the Goddess. I mean, you're surrounded by that light, that influence. And if you just stay in that, it doesn't matter what people around you are doing, because you have a link to your higher self. You have a link to doing the work that the Goddess wants you to do. And there's my friend Tamara. And you can tell Tamara, we would love to do another circle with her. She's gorgeous and she's lovely and she's an inspiration to everybody. And yep, she got into the cryptocurrency, and for a lot of people, that's been very successful for them. I didn't go into cryptocurrency because I really couldn't get my head around it. And I sort of go with Warren Buffett. If you don't understand it, leave it alone for a little while and try and find out about it later. But yeah, people take the opportunity that's there. They see an opportunity, they go for it. And Tamara has always been a person who's taken risks, but she's always been a person who's walked with the Goddess, and she's succeeded. And I admire her muchly. And we've got people like that. We've got people in the Wiccan community, and they're like little lighthouses. They put it out there, they go for it, and you can look at them and go, wow. But most of them also work really, really hard. They're like ducks. You see them floating on the surface, you just don't see those little feet paddling like crazy.
That's absolutely true. And the thing about money magic is that the harder you work, the more money you make. That's the magic about it.
That is actually true. And as Einstein said, the power of compound interest. This is not an overnight thing. For us, it's 30 years. But the thing is, the power of compounding interest and changes in the way inflation, all the rest goes, it takes whatever you put in there and it grows it in the background. I call it like having your own personal assistant. While you're out working, earning some more money, your other money is out there working for you as well.
That's true.
So it's like having an employee in your own business. And you can give them a pay raise because it's all coming back to you.
Now, Peter, we do have to finish up. We thank you so very, very much for your time
and patience.
And again, we do so sincerely apologise for how difficult this kind of connection has been this time around. But We
They were
all
testing us.
persevered.
They were testing us.
We
We
Well,
passed.
what can I say?
We made
All
it
I can
happen.
say is it's beautiful being connected with you, and it's beautiful that we can all be connected with the God, the goddess, or whatever higher source that you use, because your higher self makes you grow. And I want all of us to grow. And I love your show. Thank you very much for allowing me to be on it.
Oh,
Thank
our
you, Peter.
pleasure. Thank you. Stay with us, Peter. We're going to just close off now.
We're going to put you down into the waiting room again. We'll talk to you afterwards. Hang on.
Okay, no worries.
So thank you, everyone, and thank you everyone who also persevered and came back to watch this episode of Spirit Talk Australia Radio. We thank Peter for his time this evening and for the wealth of information that he gave us, because it is so important for us to make sure that we try and achieve and try and have the best life that we possibly can, following our spiritual paths. And knowing that earning money and being able then to do good things with that money, which is what spiritual people do, is not offensive. It's not something that should be sneered at. The more you earn, the more you can give to others, the more you can help and assist.
Yeah.
Yep. And just remember Peter's book. It is actually available online, Money Magick. And yeah, look, we'll be bringing more wonderful speakers to you very, very soon. We've got a few lined up over the next few weeks, so make sure you come back and watch the next episode that is coming up shortly.
And in the meantime, we'll be back on at 8:30 for our regular tarot show. So thank you guys. I'll see you soon. Bye.